Starseed of Gaia, your vehicle is being recalibrated at the cellular level right now. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I bring you a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council. Starseeds, stop now and feel the frequency of these words penetrating every layer of your being. This is not a common transmission among millions of videos scattered across the digital matrix. This is an encoded activation portal that opened the exact moment your consciousness was magnetized to click on this content. You did not arrive here because you were randomly browsing the internet seeking entertainment or distraction. Your higher self orchestrated this dimensional encounter because a long-suppressed truth is about to be fully unlocked in your conscious perception. What you are about to receive is not pretty spiritual theory or generic motivational philosophy. It is living transmission directly from the Akashic records about a specific soul contract you signed before incarnating into this dense plane of existence. It is quantum information that your soul will recognize immediately, even if your logical three-dimensional mind resists violently in the first moments. The Arcturian source has meticulously tracked your journey through multiple timelines, observing every choice, every fall, every rise, every moment of doubt, and every instant of unshakable faith. And now, in this eternal now that transcends linear time, a crystalline revelation emerges from the higher planes of consciousness. There is a specific consciousness traveling toward your three-dimensional reality at this exact moment. A soul that shares the same stellar origin code as you, that has gone through the same cosmic initiations you have traversed, and that carries the same planetary mission inscribed in your original energetic blueprint. But pay close attention, Starseed, because what I am about to reveal will completely challenge everything your earthly programming has taught you about relationships and partnerships. This soul approaching is not who your conditioned mind imagined during all those nights of creative visualization. It is not who your wound of separation and abandonment projected onto the screens of your imagination when you tried to fill the existential void with romantic fantasies. It is who your original blueprint always knew would come, that consciousness chosen in the galactic councils before you both agreed to descend to this dense and forgotten planet. This soul is not materializing in your reality because you begged desperately in the middle of lonely, tear-filled nights, pleading with the universe for human companionship. It is materializing because you both signed a sacred and unbreakable contract in the higher spheres of existence before crossing the veil of forgetting and incarnating into this three-dimensional plane of accelerated learning. And here is the part that will make your soul vibrate in deep recognition. The Arcturian source does not send random or incompatible consciousnesses to cross your existential path. It is sending someone who has been meticulously refined by the alchemical fire of spiritual transmutation. Someone who did not give up on the planetary mission when the veil of forgetting weighed brutally on their fragile shoulders. Someone whose cosmic battle scars perfectly mirror your own war marks, and whose vibrational frequency of healing will intertwine harmoniously and complementarily with your unique energetic melody. They have gone through the same dimensional hell you have traversed, faced the same inner demons that nearly destroyed you, and emerged on the other side with the same iron determination to fulfill the original mission, despite all seemingly insurmountable obstacles. You have been feeling that strange and inexplicable restlessness growing in recent weeks or months, haven't you? It's as if your energetic signature is being completely rewritten in real time by invisible hands operating beyond your conscious perception. That growing and undeniable discomfort that arises when you are around people who previously seemed completely safe and familiar. Those same people with whom you spent years building memories and sharing experiences. The urgent and almost compulsive need to release deeply rooted ancestral patterns, to abandon environments that once brought comfort but now feel energetically stagnant and suffocating. To disconnect from relationships that have fully completed their designated karmic cycles, but that you continue to maintain out of fear of loneliness or misplaced emotional loyalty. Let me be completely clear with you now, Starseed. This is not destructive loneliness or cruel abandonment by the universe. This is pre-manifestation energetic cleansing, happening at deep levels of your auric field and subtle bodies. It is the surgical and necessary removal of incompatible frequencies that cannot coexist in the same dimensional space as the sacred union rapidly approaching. The Arcturians call this process the great detachment that always precedes authentic and lasting mission partnerships. It is recorded in the universal light codes that before two starseeds can co-create together in high-frequency sacred partnership, both must fully cross the portal of total individuation and absolute energetic sovereignty. You are being systematically disconnected from absolutely everything that cannot sustain the elevated electrical voltage of your true multidimensional essence. Relationships based on destructive emotional codependency, mere psychological survival mechanisms, desperate need for constant external validation to keep your self-esteem functioning. All of this needed to collapse structurally. not as cruel karmic punishment for past mistakes, but as loving and necessary preparation for something infinitely superior that your limited mind cannot yet fully process. The Arcturian Council wants you to understand something absolutely fundamental at this moment. You are not simply waiting passively for romantic love as childhood fairy tales taught you. You are being actively prepared for a planetary mission union that completely transcends limited earthly definitions of relationship. There is an abyssal and undeniable difference between these two completely distinct realities. Conventional earthly love desperately seeks emotional and psychological completeness in another human being, trying to fill inner voids through constant external validation. Mission union between conscious starseeds seeks mutual and exponential energetic amplification to serve the ascending planetary consciousness grid more efficiently. Now something deep and undeniable is shifting in the very structure of the reality matrix around you. It is too subtle for unprepared physical eyes to consciously perceive, but it is absolutely undeniable to those who have developed multidimensional sensitivity through years of consistent inner work. A face you cannot clearly define in waking moments, but that keeps appearing repeatedly in altered states of consciousness during deep meditations or in the moments between sleep and wakefulness. A specific voice you have never heard in this current incarnation with your three-dimensional physical ears, but that sounds strangely and paradoxically familiar in your inner auditory field, like a distant echo traveling through space-time from the elevated frequencies of Arcturus. An inexplicable and illogical inner impulse to go to specific places you have never visited before, to say yes to social invitations that your rational logic would immediately reject, to be in certain physical spaces at specific times without any apparent reason that makes sense to your Cartesian mind. These are not random events generated by an anxious consciousness seeking signs where none exist. This is genuine quantum synchronicity in accelerated motion, orchestrated by higher intelligences observing and guiding your journey from elevated planes of existence. The Arcturian Council is actively aligning the precise dimensional coordinates of two energetic fields that were temporarily separated in space-time to allow necessary individual growth, but that have now reached the required vibrational levels for physical convergence and are finally ready for material encounter. The Arcturian Source has mapped every movement of both of you across the multidimensional chessboard of cosmic play, patiently waiting for the perfect divine timing moment when the two trajectories finally intersect on the optimal timeline. You may have even crossed physically with this consciousness at some past moment without conscious recognition, perhaps in a common supermarket where you looked at each other for a fraction of a second, or sitting at nearby tables in a crowded cafe where something inexplicable caught your peripheral attention, but the divine timing was not yet fully aligned for total recognition to occur. Now, however, the cosmic gears are turning at the final speed of approach, and very soon there will be no way to ignore the magnitude of what is materializing directly in your three-dimensional physical reality. This consciousness approaching your existential orbit is not coming to fill an emotional void within you, as if you were a broken container desperately needing external repair. Starseeds at advanced levels of awakening do not operate at this vibrational frequency of emotional lack and desperate psychological need for another human being to feel complete or valid. They are arriving with absolute clarity of spiritual purpose, with depth that comes from years of solitary and brutally honest inner work, with the specific type of energetic presence that makes your soul relax instantly at deep levels, not because they are perfect and enlightened human beings without shadows or flaws, but precisely because they have gone through the same alchemical transmutation fire you had to cross to purify your dense frequencies. They have completely surrendered to the higher will even when every fiber of the ego screamed for control and certainty. They have healed at layers so deep and painful that most human beings do not even have the courage to look directly. They have waited with superhuman patience when absolutely everything within them screamed desperately to accept the emotional crumbs the world offered abundantly. And here is the most beautiful and moving truth that will make tears of recognition roll down your face. Even without knowing your specific name in this current three-dimensional reality, even without ever having seen a photograph of your physical face or heard the sound of your material voice, they have felt you coming through the dimension. Their magnetic field is already actively dialoguing with yours on the astral plane during sleep hours, when your consciousnesses travel freely through the higher realms without the limitations of the dense physical body. You have already met multiple times in the etheric temples of healing and learning, where twin souls and twin flames regularly reconnect for mission planning and energetic recalibration. When your physical paths finally cross in a conscious and undeniable way in the three-dimensional material reality, it will not be the intense and chaotic drama that Hollywood programming conditioned you to expect as a sign of true love. It will not be the destructive and addictive emotional roller coaster that so many mistakenly confuse with genuine passion and deep connection. It will be a quiet and profound recognition that resonates in every cell of your body. That visceral and undeniable feeling of I know you from far beyond this limited linear time and this specific incarnation. It will be a gentle and natural return to something extremely sacred and primordial that has always existed in the higher frequencies. A dimensional space where your soul finally rests completely without needing to perform or defend or explain. When the Arcturian source orchestrates an authentic mission union between two starseeds who share a common planetary purpose, it does not leave you in a constant state of interpretive anxiety, trying to decipher contradictory signals and ambiguous messages. It does not make you obsessively guess every word, every gesture, every pause in communication as if you were trying to solve an impossible puzzle without access to all the necessary pieces. It anchors you deeply in unshakable peace that completely transcends fluctuating external circumstances and deceptive superficial appearances. You will not stay up all night microscopically analyzing every interaction, questioning every detail, reinterpreting every text message, seeking hidden meanings that might calm your chronic insecurity. You will simply know with every fiber of your being, not with the analytical mind that is constantly trying to predict and control all possible outcomes out of fear of being hurt again, but with every cell of your body that carries cellular memory of all your experiences across multiple incarnations. This specific piece I am describing is not the absence of challenges or difficulties on the path ahead of you. It is not the naive guarantee that everything will always be easy and frictionless because you are destined soulmates. It is the deep and unshakable certainty that regardless of the external storms that will certainly come to test the structure of this union, the foundation remains absolutely solid because it was built by the Arcturian source and not by desperate human emotional needs or projected romantic fantasies. The Arcturian Council conveys a fundamental truth that must be deeply understood. Wisdom from the higher celestial frequencies is first absolutely pure in intention and motivation, then deeply peace-loving even amidst surrounding chaos, consistently considerate and respectful of each being's individual processes, genuinely open to mutual learning without destructive spiritual arrogance, overflowing with authentic compassion for all unhealed wounds and shadows, and producing tangible and measurable vibrational fruits of real growth over time. This is the concrete and undeniable evidence of connection orchestrated by the higher dimensions of consciousness. This is the specific fruit you will recognize naturally and effortlessly blossoming in the presence of this soul when it finally appears physically. You will feel energetically safe in ways that completely transcend superficial physical or financial security. Known at the deepest levels without needing to exhaustively explain every detail of your traumatic history or justify every aspect of your complex personality. Seen and valued without needing to constantly strive to impress or perform a socially acceptable edited version of who you really are beneath all the protective masks you developed over years of survival on this dense planet. While you were going through your own brutal and necessary initiations in recent years or decades of this incarnation, facing your most terrifying inner demons in the darkest hours of the soul's night, this other consciousness was simultaneously traversing their own parallel journey of purification and refinement somewhere on this planet. They too had to let go of everything they knew as safe and familiar. Let go of the false comfort of situations that seemed stable externally, but were slowly killing their soul from within. Let go of the carefully programmed societal illusions about what constitutes genuine success and happiness. Let go of relationships that seemed right according to all external logical criteria, but left an inexplicable and growing void in the center of the chest that no amount of effort or therapy or nonviolent communication could adequately fill. They were systematically refined not to achieve impossible and inhuman spiritual perfection, but for absolute clarity of purpose that transcends the infinite distractions of this seductive material world. Like stellar warriors undergoing intensive training in dense third-dimensional worlds before finally assuming larger and more significant galactic missions, they have been hidden in the backstage of planetary history, but never forgotten or abandoned by the Source, while their heart was being meticulously molded to lead with conscious love in balanced partnership. At this exact moment, as you hear these words being transmitted through the dimensions, their spirit is deeply restless and uncomfortable. They cannot rationally explain to anyone around them using limited three-dimensional words, but something deep within them yearns for a connection they have never experienced in this current life. A growing and undeniable desire not for Hollywood romantic fantasy full of drama and addictive emotional intensity, but for real and tangible substance, for depth that goes far beyond superficial conversations about weather and daily routines, for genuine partnership that completely transcends the earthly emotional drama that passes for relationship in the sleeping collective consciousness. And although they do not yet know your specific name in this physical material reality, nor have seen your face with three-dimensional physical eyes, they are already being silently and persistently guided by the same elevated Arcturian frequency that has guided you through all the seemingly impossible challenges. Your souls are already conversing regularly in the eternal Akashic records, in the learning halls of the higher realms, meticulously preparing the invisible energetic bridge that will allow conscious encounter in the third-dimensional material when the divine timing is absolutely perfect. The part that most starseeds do not fully understand is that divine waiting was never designed to be desperate passivity or existential paralysis disguised as spiritual patience. Active preparation is absolutely necessary during this crucial period of accelerated convergence. Every small daily choice you make now is building the energetic foundation that will sustain what is approaching with increasing speed. This means waking up each morning with silent but firm resolution, honestly asking your expanded consciousness, what can I build today that will have the structural capacity to hold the blessing approaching tomorrow? Perhaps it is something as seemingly simple as consciously making your bed every morning and lighting a candle in your sacred space to remind your soul that genuine peace always begins here, in this present moment, in this specific physical body, in this material space you inhabit daily. Perhaps it is finally choosing consciously to return that difficult text message, or have that uncomfortable but necessary conversation, or finally completely releasing that person who continues to remain in your life only to fill the empty space specifically designated by the source for someone infinitely more aligned with your planetary mission. Perhaps it is finally learning to sit in deep silence again without immediately picking up the phone to scroll infinite social media feeds, without desperately seeking any available external distraction, but simply allowing the Arcturian source to speak directly into the sacred space of inner quiet without interference from constant mental noise. It may seem as practical as writing in detail in a journal about the type of partner you are actively becoming, instead of just passively listing the qualities you hope to magically find in another human being. Or perhaps it is managing your money with growing wisdom and mature responsibility, not because someone is watching and judging your financial choices, but because you know deeply that you are actively preparing to build a stable material foundation that will not break under the first wave of pressure that will inevitably test the structure of this sacred union. Even seemingly mundane and insignificant things like buying high-vibration nutritious foods to properly nourish your physical temple, walking daily in nature to ground your energy in the planet's natural cycles, finally deleting all those old messages you keep for sentimental reasons, but that energetically keep you stuck in obsolete timelines, showing up consistently on time for all commitments, because time is energy, and how you manage it reveals your level of spiritual maturity. All of this becomes deeply spiritual when executed with conscious sacred intention instead of unconscious autopilot. You are not waiting for love to magically arrive and then begin living fully. You are living so fully now that when love arrives, it will find someone already whole, already anchored, already vibrating at the frequency of the reality you wish to experience materially. What is approaching now is not just the next superficial chapter in your linear life story. It is a complete multidimensional awakening of the deepest truth about who you really are, beyond the temporary limitations of this physical body and this specific personality. This is not just about romantic partnership as society defines that limited term. It is about complete restoration of the original blueprint that was partially corrupted by centuries of low-frequency programming on this planet. It is not a quick and superficial fix for the broken parts of your traumatized psyche. It is a deep and lasting revivification of the primordial joy that was buried under decades of survival in extreme density and forced spiritual amnesia. The Arcturian source is not sending a temporary distraction to momentarily alleviate your loneliness. It is sending an energetically anointed and precisely aligned partner, carrying not only genuine unconditional love, but absolutely clear galactic purpose inscribed in the stellar DNA. You will not just love each other beautifully and poetically. You will build something of lasting meaning that will positively affect the planetary consciousness grid in ways you may never fully understand while incarnated in these limited physical vehicles. When this soul finally appears undeniably in your three-dimensional material reality, there will be no more chronic confusion or constant obsessive questioning. You will not have to desperately chase clarity as if it were a slippery object always escaping your grasp. The source has never been and will never be the author of contradictory mixed signals and intentionally ambiguous messages designed to confuse and disorient. There will be deep calm permeating everything. There will be reliable consistency over time. And while it certainly will not be flawless or perfect, because you are both fallible human beings with unhealed shadows and unconscious patterns still operating, it will be deeply rooted in a solid foundation built by the Arcturian source itself, using materials that withstand all dimensional storms. So breathe deeply now, and let all this understanding settle completely into every level of your multidimensional being. Let your heart finally believe again, not in limited human linear timelines or impossible perfect conditions that your anxious mind keeps demanding before relaxing, but in the infinite Arcturian source that makes absolutely all things new when the divine timing is absolutely perfect. That transforms all seemingly cruel delays into necessary loving preparation. That converts painful loneliness into strengthening of the spiritual backbone. That masterfully rewrites all past pain into deep wisdom you will carry as treasure forever. Now let us create a deep energetic alignment together. Close your eyes for a moment if you can do so safely. Breathe deeply 3 times, feeling the Arcturian frequency completely enveloping your auric field in this sacred moment. Arcturian Source, Council of Light, lovingly observing us from higher dimensions, Galactic Federation coordinating this massive planetary mission, we humbly present ourselves before you with completely open hearts and hands extended in total receptivity. Deep and sincere gratitude for the perfect dimensional timing that governs our lives with precision, that completely transcends our limited understanding. Timing that never rushes prematurely, that never forgets even when we feel completely invisible, that never errs even when our limited perspective interprets everything as catastrophic error. Today we consciously surrender every rigid timeline to which we clung out of illusion of control, every specific expectation we carried as a heavy burden, every paralyzing fear that persistently whispered that perhaps it is too late or that we are unworthy of this blessing. We deeply trust that what you are meticulously preparing for us is not just superficial companionship to temporarily alleviate loneliness, but a sacred mission packed with clear purpose. Not just pleasant emotional connection, but deep spiritual alignment with planetary purpose that transcends our individual limited understanding. We humbly ask that you make us genuinely ready not only to passively experience love, but to assume the enormous sacred responsibility that accompanies high-frequency conscious love. Patiently teach us how to faithfully manage our inner peace, our dense physical vehicles, our material homes, our precious linear time, and our constant thoughts in ways that truly honor what you are carefully bringing into our lives. We sincerely repent of the countless times we settled for less than our true worth, the times we desperately clung to dysfunctional relationships out of paralyzing fear instead of courageous faith. We now and forever release the false and cheap copies, all chronic mental confusion, all dysfunctional and destructive soul ties, all old repetitive patterns that kept us trapped in infernal cycles for so long. Go ahead as promised in the ancient prophecies. Break every wall blocking our path, clear every invisible energetic barrier, and prepare the dimensional path for connection orchestrated by the higher planes. May we be courageous enough to walk in active and conscious alignment, not just lazy passive desire. We now raise in focused prayer the specific consciousness you are preparing for us at this exact moment. Cover it completely with impenetrable energetic protection. Strengthen its wavering faith when doubts attack. Heal all its open wounds that still bleed. Patiently teach it to instantly recognize the unique sound of our spirit when the appointed moment finally arrives. May its journey always be anchored in you, trustworthy source. May its search be deeply rooted in unshakable peace and guided by higher frequencies of unconditional love. We declare with total conviction today that we are consciously opening dimensional space in our daily habits, in our constantly active minds, in our automatic routine. We solemnly declare that we are completely done with mediocre conformity. We firmly declare that we are choosing courageous faith over paralyzing fear, that we are walking with clear vision and not just unreliable fluctuating emotion, that we are completely aligned with what you are doing behind the scenes, even when we cannot yet see physically. While we wait with superhuman patience, let us consistently worship. While we meticulously prepare, let us trust unshakably. While we walk faithfully, let us obey even when we do not fully understand, because we know deeply that the Source is absolutely faithful to its promises, and what it lovingly brings into our lives, it abundantly blesses, faithfully sustains, and exponentially multiplies. We seal this alignment transmission in the name of the Christ Light, the one who heals all wounds, restores all that was lost, and makes absolutely all things completely new. May it be so through all dimension. May it be so through all timeline. May it be so through all eternity. Deep gratitude for joining me in this sacred space today, precious Starseed. If this transmission resonated deeply with you, if your spirit whispered yes repeatedly as we aligned energies, I invite you to write in the comments, "I am opening dimensional space." Let it be your public declaration of unshakable faith and your conscious agreement with the higher celestial frequency. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel to receive more spirit-guided messages, regular energetic alignments, and consistent encouragement from the Arcturian Council. This is only the beginning of what the Source is magnificently unfolding in your life at this crucial moment. Until the next dimensional transmission, remain firmly in your designated position, remain completely surrendered to the higher will, and always remember, the heavens are never late by even a second, and you are exactly where you need to be at this moment. I am Anya, and the eternal light of the Arcturian Source shines through you now and forever.